Hi, I'm here today with my friend and colleague, Mark Shapiro. Mark is from the Harry and Rose Samson family JCC of Milwaukee. And I asked Mark to come here today to tell a story. He shared with me a really intimate and meaningful story. And I'd love it if you would share it with the folks that come to our website.
Well, we're all in the business of relationships, right? And one of the things that we've learned over the last couple of years in working with you has been that truly building a culture of philanthropy is making it so that in a lot of ways it's not about us, but it's often about the people that we're working with. And when I really think about the ways in which I've been blessed to have some really great mentors or teachers, when I first got the job as the CEO of the JCC, it was really nerve-wracking for me. I came from the Jewish camping world. I really didn't know anything about it, and I remember within the first couple of weeks I had to actually go solicit someone for $1 million gift. I'd never asked anybody for a penny, let alone $1 million. And while that one was slightly successful, ended up with about half of the gift, it really set for me on a path to realize I still had a long way to go in learning. And one of my favorite lessons came from a gentleman by the name of Bert Sternad. Bert and his wife Audrey were pretty solid givers to our community. And there was one day when we were working on our community hall at the JCC. Bert and Audrey had made a substantial capital gift to the J, and well, quite frankly, they didn't like the decorating. Audrey saw it, and they were ugly brass light fixtures. She really thought it looked antiseptic, and where I knew we had a special group of people here is normally someone who had donated $1 million to build out a space. If they didn't like how it looked, they would tell you to fix it. They wouldn't give you the money to do it. They would just tell you to do it. And Bert decided that he was going to fund us fixing the space to the way he wanted it to be.
Nice.
And so Audrey was coming pretty regularly to think about colors and all these things. And one day I was there with Bert and we were talking for a little bit, and he said, "Can you come for a walk with me?" Bert was a pretty intimidating guy to me. He was a prominent lawyer, didn't talk very much, kind of the opposite of my personality, so I always felt like I had to fill the empty space. And we were going for a walk, and he rather shockingly shared with me that he had just been diagnosed with cancer. And it was a very poor prognosis. That, as a matter of fact, he was actually letting me know that he had just shared with his family in the last couple of days that it was going to be terminal and it was going to be fast. And I was stunned. I lost my own father to cancer years before this had happened. I'd watched somebody, pretty much go through what looked like Bert was going to be going through. And he kind of grabbed the back of my arm while we were walking, kind of almost holding on. Very much like Harold, when he holds hands and goes for a walk. Harold, much more warm and kind of outgoing than I would say that Bert was at this moment. And as we were walking, he started to share with me what he was hoping I would do for him. I won't say I barely knew these people, but definitely this was not my family. And he began to ask me if I would take care of a couple of things for him when he was gone. And one of them was, would I get his wife Audrey an orchid every birthday? And I said, of course I will. But I really didn't understand what was behind it. I figured it's a favorite flower, right? It would be the same as if I asked somebody to get my wife roses, which, by the way, is no longer our favorite flower. Orchids are. And I asked Bert what's behind the whole orchid. He said, besides the fact that it's Audrey's favorite flower, he said, I actually think I want you to get an orchid too. So I asked him, okay, you mean like for myself? He said, yeah, go out, buy an orchid, and I want you to put it in your office. So I said, if you don't mind me asking, why? So he said, Mark, almost more than anyone else I know, you need an orchid. So I knew he was insulting me, by the way. It was pretty clear. There was no punches being pulled. This wasn't like you're a magnificent human being and everything in your life is in perfect order, so you should go and reward yourself with an orchid. This was some form of a slam on that I was young and petulant and talked too much, and that I should go and get an orchid. And slowly but surely he explained it to me. And the orchid has taken a very important place in my life since then. I probably have 20 orchids in my house. There's 5 on the windowsill in my office. And a lot of it comes down to what Bert shared with me, his vision about Nothing teaches you patience more than caring for an orchid. You have to slow down. You have to understand the orchid. The orchid doesn't have to understand you. There's so many parts to this, and so it's really helped me lead to a conversation I love to have about why I think every development director should have an orchid. It should be right there every day. It should be reminding them that these flowers, which are magnificent and will stay forever if you care for them exactly the way they should. You can't overwater them. You can underwater them, but you can never overwater them. That you have to understand each orchid has its own way of the way in which it wants to be cared for. That when the flowers are out and they're beautiful, it doesn't mean that everything's okay. If you don't keep paying attention to it the way it wants to be, in a matter of days, they'll fall off. When the flowers fall off, it doesn't mean that the plant's dead. It's just a matter of caring for it as if it were full of life and vibrant, and soon it will reward you with another flower. Sometimes you have to cut your losses if you don't take care of it for a while, if you forget about it. Kind of like a donor, if you just forget about it, at some point cut off the stem and wait a while. Keep nurturing it as if it were flowering for you, and sooner or later another stem will come out. And then that stem will start to grow, and it'll have these little buds like this up here. And boy, it takes a long time. From the minute you get it until it actually blossoms, it can be weeks, can be months. Sometimes it can take forever, but you have to keep caring for it as if it was already giving you the biggest gift you had.
Nice.
And this story has really impacted me. And I can tell you that our development director has an orchid in her office, and so does most of our development staff. And it's just a reminder to us that even when everything's in full bloom, we still have to take care of it. Even when it's gone, we still have to take care of it. Even when we think it's dead and we've lost it, we can cut our losses and keep nurturing it, and it'll come back. Very forgiving flower. And yet at the same time, not very forgiving of mistakes.
Right.
Like a lot of donors that we know.
Yep.
And I don't know that Bert necessarily knew all of that. I think he just wanted me to slow down and learn how to take care of things. And,
Nice.
He really did, and changed me a lot. And I was very blessed. We spent the next almost year really cultivating a real friendship, learning things I never knew about him. And people thought I was crazy when I told them that I was hanging out or talking to Bert. They didn't even think he spoke. I mean, he was such a stern and kind of scary man. So I owe him a lot. I will tell you, funny part of the story, you have to understand your donors, right? So Audrey is one of our most blessed supporters of our camps and our JCCs. And a number of years ago, she said to me, "All right, enough with the orchids. I know what he did. I know what he told you. And I got enough, and I don't even like him that much. Enough with the orchids."
That's funny.
So it does remind us that.
Did you keep giving them to her?
No.
Yes.
While I did respect Bert's wishes, I did get a reprieve from Audrey. But a challah and Shabbat, other things like that, making sure that Audrey is very much one of those donors that we take care of when we're in the middle of soliciting, when we're after soliciting, and even when we're helping her make gifts to another organization that makes her happy. Just make sure we understand how they like to be cared for.
Great. Well, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. That's a really cool story.
Thanks for letting me carry that memory on. It is. I think we all have some of those stories in there. Some of them are hard. It's not an easy thing to remember these stories that bring back pain as well as joy. But always happy to share Bert.
Great. Thank you.